What are we saying? Okay, in my last video, I covered the overview of how to get bulletproof knees in general, the absolute blueprint. So if you have not watched that, I'll definitely go and watch that. And now in these videos, I'm going to be breaking down each section at a time. So today we're going to be going into the training overview. So we're going to be going through this whole thing, and then I'll go through each of these individually as well. So we'll go through rejuvenate in another video, and then I'll go through blood flow in another video, just so we have as much detail as possible, and you can see the entire blueprint, know exactly what to do in each specific thing. So yeah, right now today we're going to go through the training overview. Okay, so this is what we're going through today. Training overview, the 3-step blueprint. How to use exercise to fix your knees. And this is the most important part of the whole journey. The training is going to be the bulk of stuff, and then I would say nutrition comes after that, if not mixed in. And then also the mindset comes after that. Obviously, everything matters, but if you were to just absolutely nail one of them 100%, it would have to be the training. Because if you just nail the training 100% and you don't have the nutrition, you're still going to be making gains. But if you nail the nutrition 100%, but you don't do any of the training, then that means you're not going to be making the kind of gains that we need. So this is the most important bit. So yeah, like I said, we're going to be going through the 3 stages in a bit more detail. Step 1, rejuvenation. Step 2, rebuild. And then step 3, return to sport. Just an overview of things. And then we'll go into each one in specifics in a different video down the line. So yeah, for rejuvenation, like I said previously, you may be coming off an injury which has lasted 10 years. You think your knee's dead. 1 year, 2 year, however long it is. I was personally coming off a knee injury that was 5 years long. From 16 through to 20 and then 21-ish, around there. And then after that, that's when I started getting into ATG. And now it's been about 3 or 4 years since I started doing ATG. So the ligaments and tendons, as you can see in this photo, are much less readily available to have blood flow in them. So the closer your things are to the outside of the knee, the more blood flow they're going to get. The ligaments are super deep in, the cartilage is super deep in, they're going to get even less blood flow, and then the tendons, again, are still deeper than the muscles, so they're going to get less blood flow to the muscle, and therefore they are slower to heal. So blood flow is needed for healing, which is why ice doesn't work, because it restricts blood flow. We just want to get loads and loads of heat to it, and how do we do that? And that's going to be this rejuvenation phase. So yeah, I had to make my face smaller so you can see this. But the most important things for this is going to be the backwards sled. As we can see, we're rolling, we're absolutely going backwards and forwards, and then also the backwards treadmill. You can also use band and knee extensions for this, and something else that I super love is floss bands. But when I found this like 4 or 5 years ago with Ben, I vowed to use it every day, and I've done some kind of blood flow, like backwards sled, band and knee extensions, or backwards treadmill every single day for the last 3 or 4 years, and still counting. So you can use a sled, you can do the treadmill turned off and use that internal resistance, or you can kind of use anything that you can drag. So if you have a tire, if you have anything, but it's making sure that it's in that backwards walking kind of thing, like walking backwards uphill, all of those can be used, and this is how we get blood flow to the knee. This can be done pretty much every day because it's concentric only, it's no eccentric, so it's not breaking down the tissues. Every single day you can do this and flossing. In terms of rejuvenation isometrics, these are especially good for tendons, but they're still good for the ligaments and stuff like that. And my 3 favourite are personally the lunge isos, which over time you don't have to start with weight to begin with, but over time we can build up the weight and go for less and less periods of time. And then with the leg extension isos, again, you can use a band, you can use like an actual leg extension machine, and you can play with different angles depending on what feels best. But these isometrics are an amazing way to start getting healing to the knees, to start getting work in it without it causing flare-ups, without causing major breakdown of the tissues. And again, these can be done pretty much every day, if not every couple of days. And then eventually the overcoming isos as well. Sometimes they can be used to start with, but if you've got especially sensitive tendons, you may not be able to do it, but they may be good to start with. But overcoming isos, you can do 5 to 10 seconds, and you pull as hard as you can on the iso. So it could be something like this, could be like a calf thing, it could be a lunge iso again, but you're going against an immovable object. So say it's a bar on a rack, and if you push as hard as you can, you cannot move it. That's where we want to get to. So this guy's pulling something up, you see the bars in between the things, and he cannot move that bar, and he's using his force. So that is what an overcoming isometrics are. So yeah, Also, at the same time as getting the blood flow to the knee with the band knee extension sled, turn off treadmill, and the isometrics, that's work directly to the knee. We don't have to do too much more than that if you're scared, if you've got any pain, to start with, just to get the blood flow back in the joint. But what we can do is train the areas below the knee. So this is just a video of me doing some tib raises. But this work below the knee can be tib raises and also calf raises in both the soleus and the gastroc. So personally, the ones I like are the FHL calf raises and also the KOT calf raises. KOT calf raises are great because they also act as an isometric for the knee. So you can get kind of 2 in 1, 2 bang for your bucks, where you're training the calf and you're also training your knee at the same time. And at the same time as this, you can just get more mobile. You can do some hip stuff, pigeons, pancakes. You can do any couch stretch. You can do elephant walks. Whatever doesn't hurt, the more mobile you can get, the more you're going to be able to get into those ranges and access them down the line when we do the AT split squats, when we do the squats. So these are the kind of stuff that we need to do to start with. From there, we go into more of a rebuild phase. So our knee's starting to feel better. This knee rejuvenation period can be anywhere between a couple of weeks and a month and a half, 2 months, depending on where your knee is at. Like I say, I get some of the worst cases come to me, and for these types of people, we have to spend longer in the rejuvenation phase, because the actual rebuild stuff, the step-ups, the split squats, all that kind of stuff is quite scary to these people, so we have to wait a little bit longer on that. But yeah, so rebuild, a common problem for most surgeries is the muscle atrophy. So as you see here, this was my muscle atrophy. So this leg absolutely shrunk after my surgery and just kept shrinking because I couldn't train without pain, and I couldn't find any ways to do. So that's why the rejuvenation phase is good, because I couldn't find any way to train without pain. But those backwards kind of sleds, those isometrics, the tib and calves, you can still train without hitting the knee directly and having that pain flare up. So that's what I had to do to start getting the rejuvenation, and then I can start to do the stuff that's actually going to rebuild the muscle tissue and get you to a point where you can then rebalance the quad size leg to leg. And it's been shown that bigger and stronger muscles it just leads to more knee protection. So the stronger you can get your quads, stronger you can get your hamstrings, stronger you can get your glutes, stronger you can get your tips and calves, all in structural balance. It's going to be much better for the joint overall, especially if you're training the joint at the same time and making that stronger. So to start with, especially when you're coming off a surgery or you do have quad issues mainly, we're going to be doing quad focused single leg exercises. So I personally love the Poliquin step-ups. I mean, again, I'm going to have to make my face a little bit smaller for this so you can see this video. But when I was coming off the injury for like 5 years, I couldn't get into the deep range of motion stuff. It was hurting too much. So how can we get that training to the knee and that muscle size without too much pain? One way I love is the step up. So we can add in an extra set on the weaker side. It's a short range exercise, so it's not doing too much breakdown of the tissues, and you can do it multiple times a week. I was doing this up to 3 times a week when I first started. And like I say, again, the more knee over toe, the more VMO activation there is, and the VMO is the one that shrinks the most. I've personally seen, and it's super important for knee health in general. So rebuilding that's going to be super important. The step ups, you can start loading at lower height, just load, or you can go up in height. The height stuff is going to be more intense on the joint, and I believe the loading is going to be more intense on the muscles. So to start with, I like the higher reps, even 50 to 100 reps. Again, we're still getting loads of blood flow and rebuilding that quad size, but with some extra load, with the 50 to 100 reps, you're not going to be risking too much for injury to start with. So I think that's probably the best way to go. And again, like, it's joint dominant movement, so we do have to be doing this pain free, if not a maximum of like 2 out of 10 of pain. So the reverse step up is a beautiful exercise, and actually allowed me to get into the more range of motion stuff. So first one, we're rebuilding that quad size. If your issue is more like hamstrings and you've had like a hamstring graft, something you can do pretty much every day for that is like band hamstring curls, and then eventually we'll get into hamstring curls on a machine, and then Nordics eventually. So yeah, one of the big things, again, most things that I see, most issues when people come to me are either range of motion or strength issue. Sometimes it's both. To rebuild the range of motion, to rebuild my range of motion, the ATG split squat was vital because you're still getting that full range of motion in your knee, but your knee's not coming over your toe until this last portion of the lift. Whereas with a squat, your knee's over toe pretty much the whole time. So you can do this at regress positions. You can have a bench in front of you and do it really high. You can go for a limited range of motion to start with. But the main two exercises in this kind of rebuilding of the range of motion I love are the ATG split squats and the BMO squats. To take more pressure off your knee, you can just use upper body assistance, and you can take off as much pressure as you want, especially in the early phase of this. I sometimes tell people take all of your body weight off, and I just want you to get the full range of motion. It doesn't matter about having that load. It's more about getting your knee used to the range of motion, and floss bands are a game changer for this. Literally in one session, your range of motion can increase drastically by just using the floss band. So if I've said this multiple times, but if you have a knee injury, if you have had a knee surgery, if you've had any kind of knee problems, get a floss band because they are an amazing tool. So you can just wrap the floss band round on the knee and do your lifts, and you're going to get so much more range of motion. There's going to be so much more blood flow in your knee afterwards, and I still use them to this day. But yeah, from the range of motion stuff, while that's rebuilt and we've rebuilt more of the strength from there, we would want to go, and this is a bit further down the line. So this range of motion stuff and the strength in the quad is the first two things I want to focus on. So we're getting loads of strength, and we're also getting the full range of motion. Once those are starting to be loaded, once we're feeling good, we can then start to add in some more longer range exercises. So this is a short range exercise like the step up, and this is a longer range exercise where we're getting the stretch down the quad, and it's more intense in that lengthened position. So this is going to cause more muscle breakdown, more tissue breakdown, and is going to lead to more hypertrophy gains in the long term. But it's not something you want to rush. So we have beginning phase of this. We can use a couch stretch, we can use elephant walks, but eventually we do want to get to extreme load on the connective tissues with the long range in stuff like sissy squats, reverse Nordics. For the back of the knee, you can do Jefferson curls, and this is going to lead to more adaptation. And this is like a big piece of the puzzle, which most people are missing it. The fact that I can do reverse Nordics with my knees are 100 times better than some people that have never even tried that. Obviously, you have to take it slow, and there's regressions to everything. There's couch stretch, there's all kinds of different stuff. But the long range work for the connective tissues in the long term is super vital, and this is the stuff that other routes are missing. I don't see many other people that are using this kind of stuff that aren't in ATG, and if they are using it, they don't understand it. I got this from Keegan Smith, and he has some great videos on YouTube that you can check out if you want to go more into it. But yeah, this long range concept can be taken to extreme ranges. Like, I can personally do this now, and there should be a picture of me doing it as well, but Ben is like someone that I've seen that can take it to extreme. I still can't get that. He's been doing it for 10 years. I've been doing it for free. So once I get to 10 years, I want to see where I am, but it's nuts the stuff you can do. It's like just hop into these reverse Nordics, absolutely cold, bang out 10s, 20s, 100s of them, and not have any issues. I can go into them cold, and I can do a few, but nowhere near the level of Ben, and that's the level where we want to get to. There's no end on how far we can get, and if we take our knee ability from like barely being able to do backwards walking without pain to banging out loads of reverse Nordics without pain, imagine where your knee's going to be. Like, there's no lost hope for any knee, because it's just and I'm not saying it's going to be quick. Take 5 years to heal your knee, take 10 years if you want to, but just slowly make improvements, 0.1%, and in 10 years time, you're going to be in a massive better place than what you would be if you didn't do anything or didn't do this type of training. So obviously take your time. If you, not saying you have to take 10 years, you can be sooner, but take your time, just keep improving 0.1% each time. So yeah, those are the two phases that we've been through so far. I'll just quickly run back through them just in case you forgot. So first, we are rejuvenating the knee. We're getting blood flow in it. We're getting healing with the backward sled, the isometrics, short range stuff, the tibs, soleus, and gastroc. Getting work around the areas, just bringing it back to life before we go into the direct knee training. And in this phase, we are rebuilding. So we're rebuilding the muscle tissue, we're rebuilding the range of motion, and then we are lengthening the actual tissues and rebuilding the joint. So yeah, that's the strength training side of stuff, and then eventually we go into the return sport, and this doesn't stop. This strength training never stops. Even in season, off season, whatever it is, the strength training never stops. But we want to go into a return to sport phase slowly. So we have 3 categories, which most sports are made up out of, which is the running, the jumping, and the cutting. So I've kind of put these in like which category I think they are, and we'll go from the left side is like the least version of them, which we can start with, and then the right side is more of the advanced versions of it. And again, I will go through this stuff in more detail, show you each exercise, break them down, so that you literally have everything you need just from my YouTube channel. But yeah, so the running is, to start with, we can just do a backwards walk. This is plyometric ability at its lowest. It's just a backward walk. So if we're doing the sled all this time, we're still getting some plyometric ability in. And then from there, we do the backwards jogs and then the backwards sprints. This is healing your knee and allowing you to do plyometric ability at the same time. From the running as well, we can then start to go forward. So forward jogs, forward runs, and then forward sprints, and then forward sprints with decels. I would like to incorporate the lower ends of this all together and then go through each stage. So this would be like the first stage where we're doing the backwards walk, the forwards runs, the bounds, maybe even the hops should be in there, and the bounds should be in the middle or last, and then the calf jumps and the lateral calf jumps, and then we'd go on to the jog, the sprint, the hops. But again, this depends on every single person's situation. Feel out what feels best for you, and we'll go through that, but we'll just run through each one at a time now. So from that, we're going from forward run, forward sprint, forward decels. We're doing bounds, hops, and skips for like a in-between of running and jumping at the same time. I like all these kind of versions, and everything can be regressed to what capacity you can do it at. So if you can't do bounds 100%, go 40% to start with, go 20%, go 10%. Just get something in where it's pain-free, and then over time, again, that 1% each time. With plyometric ability, I see so many people skip the return to sport phase in general and just go back into sport straight away because they're like, oh yeah, like I've hit the strength standards, let's go back into sport. But it has to be done in the same way that strength training is done, in the fact of I'm not just going to go in the gym and load 100 kg on my back to do a squat. I'm going to load body weight and then 10 kg and then 15 kg and 20 kg slowly over time. It's got to be in increments. So return to sport phase can be anywhere from 3 to 6 months, depending on your situation, maybe even longer. But make sure that you are ready to return like 100%, because I've seen so many people spend 4 weeks and end up having 3-4 tears of their ACL, 3-4 tears of MPFL, and yeah, they don't learn, and their physios don't have a proper like return to sport protocol. So make sure that you are progressively doing this over months. So yeah, from the jumping side of stuff, I like calf jumps. I like lateral calf jumps. I like depth jumps because they're really measurable. You can, if you have like an ATG mobility box, you can literally see, okay, I can do depth jumps from 2 inches, then 4 inches, then 6 inches, then 8 inches, and then the Maasai jumps are more advanced where you can't actually measure how high you are jumping, but it's actually the force output and stuff like that. So yeah, in terms of jumping, I also like deep tier plyos. There's a guy for plyometrics that's really good on Instagram, which is called like McKins Watson. It's a little bit complicated, but he has some great stuff. And then for the cutting side of stuff, which is massive issues when people start to come back, we can start to get used to this kind of stuff with lateral calf jumps and then single leg lateral calf jumps and then eventually skater jumps as well. But we need to be sure that we can handle all positions. If we're just sprinting forwards and backwards, we then don't know if we can go side to side. So we need to go every single motion, and we can also be creative with this. We can play games, we can do different infinity things depending on your situation. But yeah, it needs to be that you're comfortable with all kinds of cutting, all kinds of jumping, and all kinds of running before you go back into your sport. And then once we do that, we can like actually start to return to the sport. So we can do, for example, if the example was just football, we could do some dribbles with the balls, and we could just do some passes, and then we could do some running with the ball, and then we could do like 5 minutes or 5 aside time. Then we could do 10 minutes, 15 minutes, build that up, and then over time we could start to do 11 aside. So we could do 5 minutes of 11 aside, then 10 minutes. But don't go all out. Like, don't go onto the pitch and do an hour. Don't do a full game. Just build it up slowly, and that's going to allow your tolerance to increase. Saw something from a physio mate of mine who said that if you increase load in whatever capacity, whether that be plyometric, whether that be strength training, anything, by over 10%, your chances to be injured are much more. So just increase 10%. Okay, amazing. I can jog a little bit this week. Amazing. Then we can jog a little bit faster. Then we can sprint. But it needs to be the entire thing of rehab and rehabbing injury is progressively loading the stimulus a little bit more each time until you can handle what you want to handle. So start our stimulus, see if that's good. If it feels good, amazing. Next week we'll do a little bit more. Oh, that feels too much. Okay, we'll dial it back a little bit. Amazing, that feels good. Okay, let's do a tiny bit more. Amazing, feels good. Tiny bit more. You need to know your body, you need to learn your body, and just progressively overload in a slow manner over time consistently. So yeah, that's the whole presentation on that. Next time we will go more into the nutrition side of stuff. So we'll do the overview of nutrition, then we'll do the overview of mindset, and then we'll go more into each phase in depth. So then we'll go through rejuvenate, through rebuild, through return to sport, and then we'll go through blood flow, through short range, through isometrics, to make sure you know every single thing that we have inside the blueprint. Obviously, if you come inside the one-on-one coaching inside the Bulletproof Blueprint, we can implement this all with you, and we can help you go through each of these stages. But I want every single person to have this no matter what, whether they're in the service or not. So yeah, I hope this helps. If it does, let me know down in the comments. Let me know any questions you have. I'll be replying to all comments down in the comment section, like I did on my last video. If you missed my last video going over the whole thing in general, it was a banger, so go watch it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and if you got any questions, leave it below. Amazing.